London System video number 2. This time we're going to be talking about the King's Indian. So let's get to the standard position. And for a while, I was recommending for my students to transpose into the Versov. And these are really aggressive lines, but in all honesty, I think white has very, very good options playing the line I'm going to recommend. But if you're looking to spice it up and play hyper aggressively, check out that knight c3, but there's a lot of theory to learn. So the move order needs to be precise here. It's specific. First we go e3, and again, we want to note in all these variations, these sidelines with knight h5, how to handle this. And different from the d5 variation, when we see knight h5 with the g6 structure, we typically want to go bishop g5. And the idea is that after h6, bishop h4, we're getting him to overextend. And then I go this nice move, knight fd2, the critical idea. So if he takes the bishop, we're taking back with our queen. We've ruined his pawn structure, and he has a weakness that he has to deal with. So after knight f6, bishop g3, white's got the better of it, and you can develop normally with c4, knight c3, get your bishop out, and castle. Straightforward, easy position for white to play. So typically they're going to castle here. And after bishop e2, we again question, what about knight h5? Bishop g5, h6, bishop h4, g5. And now this was a wonderful novelty that was found a couple years ago. And it's only been played once in a game. And when I was going through and checking these positions with the engine, I was like, g4. This is dirty. It only works in this particular position, but it's a great innovation to know. So say, for instance, if takes, after king h8, you're just going to castle queenside with like knight c3, queen d2, and castle, and then you're going to use the open g file to attack black. This is just a really nice, easy position to play. And the other variation would be if knight f6, all right, you want to take that pawn? Because if knight g4, I mean knight g5, tactics are looming. Or h4. And this just, that's dirty. It's a huge attack, and all of white's pieces are really coordinating. You can come up with like knight takes h6, queen d3 next, and you're trying to mate the guy. Yeah.
Is there any variation where black doesn't push h6 to attack the bishop?
That's a good question. So, student asked after bishop g5, is there any variation where black doesn't play h6 to attack the bishop? At this point, he's got to justify playing knight h5 and kicking the b. So I think you pretty much have to play h6. But being that you're a King's Indian player, I'm showing why these variations are bad. So make sure you're noting not to do this with black. Okay? Yeah.
Let's say somehow, like, the King's Indian people, they got move ordered.
Uh-huh.
Why do you play h6 and not f6?
Oh, yeah. If you play f6, and Devin should know why not to play f6, because when we analyzed your game, we talked about f6 being atrocious. 1, it's going to stop your knight from getting back, and 2, you're biting on granite with this bishop. You've, in effect, undeveloped 2 minor pieces at the same time. I don't like you anymore. So, yeah, no f6. So if you got move ordered and you ended up in this position with black, what I would recommend for you is to play this variation with c5, and then you want to play a6 to provoke a4, b6, and this position I found is pretty good for black. We'll see h3 a lot of the time, and then right here you have to know the exact play for white. I've won many games because white couldn't come up with a plan. Rook e1 is the best move, and after rook a7 you have a counterintuitive move. The first time I saw this played, it was Lanier Dominguez, one of the top Cuban players. He had this position, and he goes bishop d3, and I was like, that's awesome. Because after queen a8, you just prepare e4. White's plan is to play e4, and as soon as white hits e4, black plays e5, and it's a dynamically equal position. That's basically my preparation off the top of my head on both sides from watching other strong players play it. So that answers how to play against it with the King's Indian. You're going for this structure. So, and then I don't think I'm cheating either side there and saying, you got chances. So going back d6, a little bit different is white's going to play c4 instead of what I recommended right then with c3, which is also, alternative option for you. It's inferior to play c4 before bishop e2 because if you play c4 too early, you're now in Grunfeld territory. And like it's also to note that if they play c5, well, after like say c5 here, you want the ability to play c3 to shore up the pawn chain. It's the same thing. When they play c5, you look to play c3 regardless of the situation. So that's why it's important to hold the c-pawn back when it's the g6 structure. So okay, we got d6, now c4, and we'll cover the Grunfeld in the next video, and you'll see what I'm talking about with the differences. Knight bd7, knight c3, and what I like about this position is the standard and typical King's Indian plan with e5 simply doesn't work. So after rook e8 castles, if he goes e5, take, 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 and white's like +2. That simple. I just killed your plan, and the game's pretty much already over. All I got to do is trade down and win with my extra material. So after knight c3, black could try another plan with c6, a common idea seen in the King's Indian. h3, a6, castles, and I'm going to show you a quick example game. You didn't want to take here because black would be able to take back developing a rook, so a3 is completely sufficient. Bishop b7, his bishop's kind of funny there, and after knight e8, black's running out of ideas and having to back up. e4, e5, de, de, bishop e3, and white really has optimized his pieces, while black, on the other hand, has a whole bunch of minor pieces on the 7th rank. White doesn't do much but to improve his position here, and just gradually gets all of his pieces on decent squares. And after e5, g5, in Robert Ruck and Gonda Laszlo in Hungary, this was in 2008, Laszlo had enough in the position. And that covers it for the London playing against the King's Indian. In the next video, we'll take a look at how the London can be played